think I'll be the man. I'll be the man. I'll be the man. Put in the work. They wouldn't shake their heads and question how much.
Yes, that smile itself is it's really like sunshine. What you got? What you got? What you got? What you got?
And if it goes to me, the players play. I'll be just like Leo in Saint-Tropez. I'm so sick of running something like rain.
There's something about black women and the clicking and the.
It's like how Stella got her groove back type of thing.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday with your Sauvignon Blanc.
Listen, we haven't gone from our next one. Oh, we've got friends. Hello, everyone. Yay!
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
That was. I had to play that little song. I hope Margie saw like a snippet because I was meant to play a song for Margie's daughter, who I did a live with last week, and you know my proverbial was not on point. So that song is dedicated to Margie's daughter.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes,
that's really nice.
Right. So a new. Oh look, here's my mum. Hi, mum.
Hi, Alpha.
Hi.
We got to say hello to my mum. Right. So I'm good. So I've got two jobs today. One is to keep you two in line.
Did you see the eye roll?
I'm going to be on my best. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to be on my best behavior.
Listen,
I'm not.
I'm keeping two of you online, but also we're going to have lots and lots of questions. So I want to make sure. Oh, Rebecca's missed the song. Rebecca, don't worry. I got tunes. Listen.
Oh, hello, Quayle Marchant.
Hello.
Hello. I'll behave myself. Sorry.
Hold on. Wait.
I'm so sorry. I'm the worst.
Right. I've muted Abby so I can just say my piece. I've muted her.
This is a power gun to her head now. Muted me, you know.
Right. I've got the controls. So my job for today is to make sure that I will sort out all the comments and make sure that people can interact. I'm also resident DJ. So because I'm standing today, if there's no music, I can't be standing for no hour, 20 minutes. So I've got some tunes to be dropping. As you know, you will get no notice. I will just play it when I feel like playing. And then we will get into this conversation, basically. So the purpose of this session, what we're going to talk about is colorism. I will say, just for the benefit of everybody that's listening and going to comment and engage, we want people to talk, comment, engage. That's what we're like here for. So I will keep Leanne and Abby on point. But this topic of colorism is going to be anchored within the Black community. Yeah. And I want to say this because I know colorism is an issue within other cultures, within other communities. I know. But you know how I am these days? I'm on a Black vibe. So I'm only going to talk about things in context of a Black vibe. And this is by extension, this subject. So in the nicest way possible, like I get it, I know, we all know, but we want to talk about this specifically within our community, within the Black community, because like I said, everything that I talk about in the way that I talk about it is to help us to think differently. Like I'm not telling you what to think and what to do, but I hope to provoke you to think enough to go and do something around fundamentally trying to dismantle structural racism. Colorism is a consequence of structural racism. Colorism is a consequence of systems and practices that were put in place to make sure that as Black people, we always stayed here, right? When white people stayed here. So that's why I want to talk about it today. That's why I've got Abby, Leanne, we've got loads of things to say. Like, you know, my voice is going to be a little bit muted because I really want to hear you know, the viewpoints of Abby and Leanne, but also I really want to hear what you've got to say and your views and your comments, because if we do not talk about this, and if we do not open up these sorts of conversations for everyone, remember, I'm all about bringing everybody in, even though people are like, oh my God, like, what's she saying? Like, you know, this is the only way we can make sure every single thing that we're doing professionally or personally is going to help dismantle all of this. Otherwise, all the marches, all the people that have gone before us that have been fighting for equality and systematic and addressing systematic inequalities will all be for nothing if we focus on the wrong things. So this is part and parcel of that. So that's my you know, my little something. Now, one thing I will say, as you know, like, my mum is Jamaican. Hello, mum. And as is true Jamaican form, there is a song for everything, right? Leah's laughing because she doesn't know the tune I'm going to play. Now, if anybody is from the Caribbean, you're probably going to guess the song that I'm about to play. There is a song, you know, Abby's like, what is this song? There is a song dedicated to this very subject. So I'm just going to play a little piece because, you know, we haven't got all day. So I'm just going to play a little piece.
Boy, true bushman to tell the girl them about browning. All the girl them about wash up the bleach. Cause them want brown skin. All the girl them a bleach out them skin, them a bleach. They look like a browning, them a bleach. Them a bleach out them skin, them a bleach. They look like a browning, yeah me honor you. And you no bleach out the skin. You know you no chemical, me look like a browning, yeah me honor you. And you no bleach out the skin. You know you no chemical, me look like a browning. 90% of the girl them like the system. Every girl nowadays them want brown skin. So push your man and tell them about the browning. Every girl say them want the color of the pumpkin. So them run gonna shop a pick up my brown skin and them a bleach. Them a bleach out them skin. Them a bleach. Look like a browning. Them a bleach. And them a bleach out them skin. Them a bleach. Feel look like a browning. It's a calm black girl because you run the place and look how you nice with your beautiful face. Not true, you not brown. That is no disgrace. Tell them now.
All right.
Look under the AGM. Look under the
Wow. Reel it up. Reel it up. I love that. I love that.
I tell you, we've got to choose for everything. We've got to choose for everything.
Trust me.
Wow. Wow. What a way to kick it off, huh? Them are bleach.
Listen,
yeah.
Can you imagine if a conference call? Can you imagine that everyone's like, so we're going to just do a roundtable update. So who wants to start first? Love it.
Here's our slideshow performance with them are bleach. Thank you.
Them are bleach.
Amazing.
Right, Leanne, kick us off. Go for it.
No, just going back to your point as to also the reason why we're doing this, which is super important, but it's also to break down those biases that we also have in our minds. Yeah. I think we're so used to describing people, and outside of the Black context, people describe us as being Black. Within the Black context, you say, oh yeah, you know, he's dark skinned or she's light skinned, or yeah, what's her color in relation to me, or whatever. We also use color as a focal point. You know, even if we go back to that documentary that Oprah made a few years ago, my mum recently watched it, and it was that whole thing, team light skin, team dark skin. That whole thing that, you know, you have to belong to a team and one's better, one's not, you know, oh yeah, light skin girls are this, dark skin girls are that. And it's become so much part of our own vernacular. It's like we have to discuss this to basically be able to go forward and say, when a non-Black person looks at us, they don't go, oh yeah, she's brown and she's dark skinned. They go, she's Black. So why are we then dividing ourselves and categorizing ourselves in all these skin colors when outside of this, we are all Black anyway?
I just need a moment to breathe in before I start. Leanne, it stems from self-hate.
Yeah.
There is a lot of self-hate when it comes to colorism. Just for context, I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and I'm the darkest in my immediate family. I've got the darkest skin. My father is fairer than I am. My mum is what we would call yellow, yeah. And my surname is Adamson. That's actually my mum's surname. And we are It's a slave name. We are descendants of slaves. Now, everyone on my mum's scheme, everybody is on my mum's side, sorry, is an incredibly fair. Everybody is fair. Now, my sisters and I all have the same mum, we have the same dad. And when my sister Angel was born, I remember I was 11, so she was a newborn, and lots of people. So I remember when I was holding her, people were saying, "Oh, I didn't realize your mum remarried." She didn't, or my people would say to my dad when she was holding Angel, Ade, do you have a new woman? Is she white? That's how fair Angel was. And even I remember my mum used to pray that please. I mean, my mum's even light skinned herself, but my mum used to be like, please darken up. I don't want people thinking I legged it into a hospital, ran into some antenatal unit and jacked someone's baby and legged it down the street. Do you know what I mean? My mum is too much. My mum is too much. My mum is too much. And I was really fortunate growing up that even though I was the darkest in my house, I was always told to really love my skin. And actually, my dad was like, "You look like the only one who comes from Africa out of all of us," So we used to have this running joke. I never knew colorism as a thing until I got to high school. I didn't. Okay. I just thought black is black, right? I mean, we just come in different because especially coming from our household where we all have different shades of black. So I just thought black is black until I got to high school. And the very first time, the very first time it dawned on me that there's okay, people are looking at us differently, or is when I went to a girls' school, and girls can be quite catty. And we were about 14 years old, and it was like the first time we were all going to the fish and chip shop. So when they let you out during lunchtime, when they can let you out for we'll go out for 10 minutes and come back. And there was a group of boys, and one of my friends, and one guy was just like, "Oh yeah, no, you're just too dark for anyone to date." I remember him saying that to me. Wow. And in an argument with this particular girl, and how girls just have arguments in school, she said, "Well, no one's ever going to fancy you because you're dark skinned like Godzilla." And that was when we were, and it always stuck with me. And I was just like, "What?" And, I'm quite a smart girl, but even I was just, sorry, pardon, and what? She was like, "Yeah, this is what because she's very, very fair. She came from Montserrat. She was incredibly fair, and she was like, "This is what men like." Remember, we were 14. Yeah, this is what men like. This is looking like me. They don't like your kind of black. So I'm thinking,
that's been taught to her at home as well.
And that was the very first time. That was the very first, and I remember going home to my mom saying, "Oh, am I not pretty?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, apparently men will never find me attractive, or I'm not. No one's gonna ever find me attractive because I'm the wrong shade of." And I was like, "Why am I not light skinned? I'm not. I wasn't 8 years old like mummy type of thing, but 14 years old. Yeah. Like, why am I not light skinned like you guys?" And it was the very first time I looked at it in a negative way. All this time I just thought I'm darkest in my family, and that's fine because that's genetics and that's what it is. It was the first time I was like, "Oh, but why am I not light skinned like everybody else? Why am I so dark?" And I remember I had to run fast because my mum dashed everything at me. I had to do the matrix to get out of the way of her flying objects. And I remember it was just like, "Oh, do I have a different dad?" My mum was just like, "You're a carbon copy of your father," which I am. I'm just a version of my dad. But I just didn't understand because I was like, "Hold on, why am I so different? Why am I not attractive?" And that was the very first time not without sounding like an oil painting, but it was the very first time I looked at myself as unattractive.
Yeah.
And then
you're not aware of it.
Then the self-hate started. Then it was like, "Oh, I need to put it in my hair." Then we were all going through this phase where we were putting in coloured contact lenses. All of those stupid things because I was trying to be that European standard of beauty. Because at that point, I was, growing up, going through adolescence, everyone was fancying boys and boys were fancying us back. And I was like, "Oh, well, how come no one wants to take me bowling?" Do you know what I mean? And that was the very first time.
I remember, do you know what, to some extent, the beauty of growing up in a town that is predominantly white, right, and going to a white school is that for white people, if you're black, right?
Yeah.
Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, you're just black. I think I was probably older than you is when I left to go to university. And so I would have been, 18, 19, right? And I was aware of colorism from how the black boys would interact with the black girls. That's when, because like with all of this is why I want to talk about it, because with colorism, right, everyone always assumes, because there are many, many aspects of racism and structural racism, right? Many aspects, right? everyone always thinks that this manifests itself as all the obvious things that we know we've talked about before. We've still got loads more to talk about. But in this concept of colorism, I had no idea what that was. I didn't even know that was even a thing, really. Now, I'll go back to, there's some other signals that told me it was a thing, but in terms of my experience, because I saw how black boys would go for the light-skinned girls, right? And they don't want dark meat, right? And they don't want, you know, and then what happened was, and then some of the white boys were like, I don't want to go too black, right? So
what does that mean?
Oh my God, Doreen, the way my chest is hurting right now. The way
hold the chest, Abby, hold the chest, right? And then they go, I don't want to go too dark. So for them, going for a light-skinned girl was like, it's the fetishism of women, isn't it? And black women, it's like, I want to taste, but I don't want to go too, I don't want to go too far, right? I still wanted to be able to walk street with my light-skinned girl. I still want to be able to flex and bend in my white spaces and just have people look at my girlfriend as being exotic, right? And then the flip side of that is, then I start looking at some of the black women and some of my family members that I know who also wanted the light-skinned boys for the same flame, for the same, because it was almost as if, I can't step myself in their shoes, so I don't know what was going on. You know, like a lot of this thing is subconscious. So, you know, I want everybody to hear me when I say this. When we, you know, I always feel the need to say this. When we have these conversations, when I have these conversations, and we're like, as you can see, we're getting brutally honest, and we're going to get into it now. This is never from a place of blame. I'm not, unless somebody comes for me, right? And I've got a story about how somebody came for me, then yes, I'm going to come for them. But this is not about that. I'm using these stories. We are using these stories to illustrate how it manifests itself within our community. So as I said, you've got, you know, dots, same shade as me and you, Abby, right? Going after the light-skinned boys because it looks good and they look exotic too, right? So, and it's almost as if, you know, and it goes back to, I think somebody, I think it's Shakira, I don't know if you said this in the comments, I'm just flicking, trying to keep my eye on it, but it goes back to that slave mentality. And the closer you are as a black person to whiteness, to white people, is the better you are treated.
Yeah. The closer you can, absolutely, the closer you can assimilate, the closer you can assimilate. Yeah.
So, and you know, we will talk about this a little bit later on, but part of the challenge with that is, like, I don't know, because I'm you know, I'm not light skinned, but I do have, my youngest daughter is biracial, so she could, like, at a push, she could pass for white. She could, like, you know,
not that much of a push.
She probably could. She's got my features. She's got my features. But, you know, she does not change. You know, if her skin doesn't get any darker, she can pass for white.
Yeah.
And it's almost this idea of as light, and we won't even start talking about the light skinned women and girls that I have known growing up, because that's a different conversation right about there. But even then, it's this whole idea of half out of the black community brings you half into the white community. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's the deepness of it. And, you know, I remember it being, so that's how I saw it manifest itself in terms of the relationships. And then when I was coming to London, right, as a teenager, because, you know, when you grow up north and, you know, my mum and dad had split up, didn't really see my dad, come down to London, see my cousin. And all of a sudden, I don't know if anybody's going to remember this now because I'm showing my age. You remember, you know, Palmer's cocoa butter?
I can still smell it on my skin from rubbing it on.
I mean, here in the bathroom.
They had a cream called
it was a light something cream.
Yeah,
I know the one.
You know the one, the white.
I know exactly the one. Yes,
you know the one,
the small one, and it was like a concentrated thing that people used to use to bleach. But because it was Palmer's, because I didn't know. I mean, we talked about this. I was very naive to bleaching, but I remember seeing that and asking somebody what it was, and they were like, "Yeah, that's just basically a bleaching cream under the Palmer's cocoa butter bracket." Because
what I saw is, you know, like as black people, we got all this, you know, these darker bits on our elbows and our knees. So it started off when you're 40, you know, 30, 40, yeah, right. And you see, and it goes on here. Then I would see people slathering it all over their body. Then I would see them say things like, you know, put this cream on every single day and it will lighten me to the lightest part of my body or wherever, you know, or wherever it is. And that's when the self-hate starts to come in. Because if you can imagine being 13, 14, I mean, to be honest, I never did that. Like that whole thing, because it didn't make no sense to me. It made no sense. But there are other things that I bought into, again, coming from a place of that my black skin is not good enough. Right. And because then, to your point, Abby, as you get older and you're having relationships with people, and you know what it's like, and you're checking for man, and you're doing all these things back in the days when you're all the rest of it. And all of a sudden you start playing in what they're telling you, right? That as dark women, but then also when you're going into society in the world of work, we are so black because of the color of this. Like, you can't hide anything.
Yeah.
Whereas I know, so, if we want to talk about a black and white person having, opportunities in a business picking the white person, put a black person and put somebody who's our complexion, and then put a black person who has a lighter complexion. And the lighter complexion person will get the job because they are seen, they're seen as
Can I say two things? Can I say two things? The first thing I was going to say is talking about experiencing colorism for the first time. I still remember, even down to the slang we used as kids. I still remember, and being at school, I went to a very multicultural primary school that was, and when somebody was dark, what were they called? Not black, blick, blook, whatever it is. Oh my word, she's so blick. Oh my word, he's so blook.
Disgusting.
Yes, I forgot about that. I forgot.
Oh no, that was in my notes. Don't worry, blick was in my notes.
It was every other vowel besides an A. Every other vowel that's besides an A that we ourselves but used as well, like blick. Oh man, she's blick. He's blick. Nah. And it was all of that. And I was also going to say, like now, obviously, I'm getting older, getting darker, whatever. But when I was younger, when you're lighter, people also try and hype you in your brain to make you think that you're also better than darker people.
Yeah, that's it.
So for me, whilst I may not have had it on the other side, I never believed in light skin, dark skin, because my grandmother, for example, her mother was dark skin but mixed with Indian, and her father was mixed race. So she came out, my grandma Shireen. My grandma is the same color as Shireen. She had a sister who came next to her, exactly the same, but very, very pale with green eyes. So she experienced colorism, and then they were all scales. So I never, ever had it in my head, oh, I am lighter than. But I can tell you, if you let that get into your brain, you will also behave a certain way to other darker people. Because I remember, I'm not going to name any names, but I remember a girl at university who particularly wanted to be friends with me, because she was like, I know you're not mixed race, but it looks cool when we go out together, because that was her motivation. She never had any friends, female friends, who were dark skinned, because it was like the optic isn't quite right. She would have white friends, she would have fairer black friends, but she wouldn't have dark friends.
And I just want to add one more thing. I know you're dying to say, Abby, I just want to say one more thing as well, and how that manifests itself is from a self-hate point of view, right? If you think about something as fundamental as stepping out into your house in the summer and enjoying the sunshine, right? And I know there are some black people who do not like the sun, not because they don't like the rays and they don't want the vitamin D, but they don't want to get any darker. Right? And also the flip of that is, because listen, even in where it's really funny, right? When I go, even now, so when people go, oh yeah, but that must have been it in the past, I'm like, no, listen, I'm not going on holiday this year, but I'm a holiday, I'm a sunshine, I'm the one on the beach, I'm the one saying, like, give me the rays, that's me. When I go to my local gym, right, and they haven't seen me for a week or 2 weeks, what do you think the first thing is that they talk about? So I step in, and remember, there's not, in my gym, I do CrossFit, right? In my gym, there's not that many black people. There's like a few, but you step in, and what I say to people is, again, this idea of stepping into a majority white space, even with people I know. So I step into a majority white space, right? And all people want to talk about is, oh my God, your holiday thing. Look how tans you are. Not even tans. Look how dark you are. And they come, and then they do this classic white person thing where they get their arm and they put it in you, and then they say, I went to Ibiza for 2 weeks and I tanned, but I still ain't as dark as you. And then they put their forearm against your
that
forearm.
is a
Even in
microaggression.
2020, my friends, even
That,
in 2020. Oh,
that is
right.
a microaggression. That is a microaggression.
Correct.
That's microaggressive. And I think I'm sitting here and I'm literally shaking, and I think because this particular subject really affects me. I mean, we've got racism and that, but this particular, because it's affected me for all of my life. Well, from that moment at 14, when I figured out that actually someone was trying to make me feel different as a Black person, to right now, till this very hour that we're talking about it. So I'm like shaking, like having the shakes. I was reading something about Angela Davis. So Angela Davis, the Black Panther lady, and someone was asking her, saying, "Hold on a second, why do you think that you were the face of the Black Panthers?" And she said, "The color of my skin." Because you had people like Afeni Shakur, you had people like Paula Hill, who were just as prominent as her, just as militant as her, just as hard as her when it comes to fighting for racial justice and racial equality, but they were never the faces of Black Panthers because Angela was light skinned. She said it. She said, "I'm not even doing enough on myself as a social justice warrior. And I know the color of my skin and the fact that the melanin in my skin is lighter. That's why I was the face of the Black Panther." And she's absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. It wasn't like she was the most outspoken, black activist out there. That's not the case.
But to your point, Abby, Rosa Parks also wasn't the first one to sit at the back of the bus. But she happened to be the lighter person, because a darker woman did it 20 years beforehand or 10 years beforehand and didn't get any coverage. So that even shows you sometimes the sad reality that even our causes can only really be faced by lighter people to make it palatable.
Exactly.
Because they are one step closer, Leanne, to whiteness, right? And that's the thing. When people want to talk about, supremacy, and remember, even within the Black community, even now, you turn on, back in the days when we only used to see stuff through MTV, right? All the music videos. Do you remember them days?
Shireen, you got in there before I did. That was my next point. You know them video victims. I was coming onto the video.
Listen, Shireen, can we just talk about 50 Cent's comments after this when we talk about hip hop and R&B, please?
Wait, time. Hold on.
Leanne's like 4 seconds too slow.
Rude.
However do you need it?
You guys are like, you don't have any rhythm to carry on.
Let us touch on, because I do think one of the biggest reasons why Black people are having this discussion or having this problem is because of the media. I think it's incredibly important to talk about what music videos, what movies, what entertainment, what they have done, because they have damaged us. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was Julianne or someone had brought my attention to Straight Out of Compton.
It was me. You? Yeah.
I mean, go on, Leanne. You tell everybody. Tell everybody.
I'll tell them. They had a casting sheet for the film Straight Out of Compton, and there were A-class girls, B-class girls, C-class girls, D-class girls. An A-class girl is a girl that essentially looks mixed. She has naturally straight hair, and she's in good shape. And she's light skinned, of course, but hopefully mixed race. A B-class girl is a light-skinned Black girl whose hair is not her own, but she has a straight weave. A C-class girl is a mid-colored girl. She's got the weave, but she's also in shape. But a D-class girl was a dark-skinned girl who's out of shape. I don't know why dark and out of shape are correlative. That makes no sense either.
Doesn't even correlate.
this was the A to D class, and they basically said they wanted only A and B classes. Only A and B.
Just to be crystal clear, before people think that's just about straight out of Compton, anybody who is in the music and entertainment industry already knows this, right? Already knows this, because this still happens even now. You go and talk to when you hear some of the hip hop stars talk about how they cast women for their videos, right? And so they will have, and they're briefed to go and catch the light skin ones, and you might put in like 1 or 2 dark sisters, 1 or 2, right?
But you remember that girl who was the dark one? She was mixed with Chinese, the video vixen girl. She was dark skinned but mixed. So that was what was allowed, as long as it's mixed. And it's
exotic.
Correct. And it's black people, black men defining us.
But because they have been conditioned by this whole thing about bringing one step closer. It's like this whole thing about shade of black going down to the darker you are, the less attractive you are. And then as you get lighter, that's that whole bit about all of it. But also it's about how you are accepted within the society to a point. And as I think you said, Abby, before, it's about when I remember lighter skin girls / women, and as you said, Leanne, start to believe their own hype, that they are better, that they are more attractive, because they like the attention that it's given, because they get attention from black men.
Yes.
They get attention, they get allowed into white spaces that some of us aren't allowed into. And you know what I mean when I say allowed? I don't mean like we can't step in. It's just that we don't acknowledge. Nobody comes to us to go and talk, none of that. So they get to step into that. And even if for some of them, even what they will say, because I remember having a conversation years ago with a friend of mine at university, and what she said is, it's like, you get so caught up in playing that game, and then when you turn around, you realize you have no black friends, you have no black acquaintances, because she said, I traded in my blackness and focused on the whiteness that diluted my blackness to be accepted in the white space. And then when I got in the white space, I was like, hold on a minute, where's all my black brothers and sisters? And she said, I had to recognize that I left them. Because they could not do anything for me. It was the white man, it was the white woman who can do something for me and get me from this point to this point. That is the consequence of colorism. That is the consequence of being conditioned into a society that makes it feel like the lighter you are, the better you are, until you get to the pinnacle, which is white.
Just to answer, absolutely. And just to answer Chikere's question, yes, black men are to blame. I think we need to call a spade, and I will say it with my chest. Yes, black men are to blame to some point, but again, they have been also conditioned to think in a certain way. When you think about money, when you think about power, when you think about how they want to mirror themselves in that white image. Why would they go to a black woman? Because they're trying to erase that side out of it, and it is erasure. It is erasure. Think about
your point.
Yeah, no, go on, Leanne.
No, sorry, Abby. Just to your point as well, I have to take him as an example because he's current. But if I just take 50 Cent as an example,
not him. Please, not him.
Yeah, but his derogatory comments though. He was like, he wants to be seen with an exotic woman, A, because they're not angry, but B, the girls in his neighborhood look like they just came off a ship. So look how deeply, right? But look how deeply this is embedded in his psyche.
Not just him, even Kanye West. I mean, I know Kanye has his problems right now, and that's not for us to go into. But even Kanye, just recently when he did that rally, he singled out one black woman. Bearing in mind, white people were there as well, but he singled one black woman to shout at, and to the misogynoir is real. Misogynoir is real.
Totally.
You don't like women, and you don't like black women.
Yes,
that's what misogynoir is. And they are it's so deeply rooted. And you see Kanye, and then he doesn't, all of a sudden, he hugged the white woman who asked exactly the same questions as the black woman, but then he was firing off as the black woman because he doesn't like black women. And just like 50 Cent, just like a lot of those I was watching, I don't know if you know who Tory Lanez is, but he's an American hip hop artist.
He
was recording a video. Yes, he was recording a video, and he had a dark skinned girl in the video, and everything was going fine. The director walked onto set. The director pulled the black girl, or the dark-skinned girl, off the set, and next thing you see is coming onto the set was a light-skinned girl. And Tory Lanez stopped the video and was like, "I prefer that. Can we bring back my dark-skinned sister instead?" because he was, indirectly the director was trying to say that, you're going to get more hits if you have someone who exotic. And excuse me, what does exotic mean exactly, everybody?
I'm not a bird. I'm not a bird in a zoo.
Because I am not.
Don't call me exotic.
I'm
and
not
I'm
a rainbow
not,
macaw. I'm not a bird.
No, and I'm also not a rare creature because we're a global majority. So can we?
What does exotic mean? That we eat mangoes for breakfast, and you know what I mean? And we do. I mean, what does exotic mean? Because I'm an island girl. You're an island girl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what's your point? And also back to this black men rejecting black women. I think there's a lot to be said for examples beforehand. Black women in general were always taken for granted. Their mothers are black and brought them up. Their family is black and did everything for them. So they don't have a sense of respect for what these women have done. It's just part of daily business. And we all know daily business isn't sexy. It's just hard work. And they don't want anything to do with that. So they dissociate because for them, hard work is embarrassing. And they don't want to be embarrassed by black women. Therefore, they're like, no, black women aren't for me. No, thank you.
Cherie,
but we're meant to.
Sorry, do you want to answer Marian's question? Because I think that's actually really important. Yeah.
Leanne, I just wanted to.
No, go for it.
Hey, Marian. Hello. Not so familiar with the colorism. Is that something that affects only the relationship between different genders? Do you know what? It's women and women, men and women. Do you know what I mean? And I think
yeah. Colorism is designed to favor people with lighter skin while harming people with darker skin. So lighter skin people don't experience colorism. That's that. So I'm not budging on that. That's my thing.
I'm not going to say I agree, but I will say.
You know what, Abby, I think they do. Yeah. And I think that the colorism comes in when you're not accepted by your black community. I think that comes in. I do think it comes in.
Because, let me say one thing. The only reason why I'm going to say this is because if there was a real big moment about, and it's still true, the darker you are, you're allowed to be proud of your skin color and say, do you know what? The black of the berry, sweet of the juice, I'm beautiful, I'm black and I'm beautiful. But if you're lighter and you say I'm black and I'm beautiful, people think sometimes that you have light skin arrogance. I have to say that honestly.
That's true. That is true, actually.
So
yes.
If I go and I say, do you know, I think I'm nice and I'm people are like, but yeah, you only think you're nice because you're light skin.
I will give you that, Leanne, actually, because my mum. No, I was just saying, because remember I said that my mum's incredibly fair, and growing up, I remember her going out with her friends, who happened to be darker skinned. And, my mum's incredible. I'm my father's daughter. I'm nothing like my mum. My mum's really shy, really quiet. And I remember them mocking my mum, in our language, we're Nigerians, we speak Yoruba. And they were saying to my mum that, you always get the guys, like, even though my mum's married, but, guys always hit on you because you're lighter than us. And my mum's just like, I mean, what do you guys want me to do? And my mum could never be like, my mum could never feel herself. She could be feeling herself because people would see that as arrogant. And so she'd be really shy to say anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always like, you always have to sometimes be careful with the lines of kind of being confident versus being arrogant to being like, oh yeah, this is the safety of being light skinned. I agree. Do not get me wrong. There are certain doors, there are certain things that have happened, and being lighter has 100% helped that. But within the black community, I mean, even when I've been hit on by guys and I've said, you know what, I'm not interested. You think you're too nice because you're light. Not true. I just don't fancy you. And
then Leanne, the reverse of that though is when you're brushing off attention, right? And the inference, this is not just from men, by the way, this is also from white women and white men, to say, as a darker black woman, like, shouldn't you be a little bit grateful that I'm paying you some sort of attention?
Right.
Can I just also, sorry, whilst we're all talking about video vixens, the reason why I wore this lipstick color today was because a makeup artist told me that this is not something that people of my skin complexion normally go for. So I took it off the shelf.
About a business, Abby.
Of course I did.
Excuse me.
No, I did. But I wanted to go back to when I was working in Space NK back in my university days. And when I was doing, we had like NARS, we had Chantecaille, we had Laura Mercier, you know, all these lovely, lovely makeup brands. And I remember thinking a lot of the white, well, everybody was a white makeup artist, everybody was. I mean, that was that. Is when they used to police the kind of makeup that they would give to black women. And I'd be standing there, I'm thinking, yeah, but she asked you for that lipstick. So why are you giving her a darker shade? That's what she asked for. And it's just like, oh yeah, but it complements
She don't want dark purple.
Exactly.
She don't want dark purple.
Exactly. I'm like, but she asked for that. Thank you, whoever said my links. Thank you, Tanaka. She asked for that makeup, or she asked for that eyeliner, or she wanted that, you know, whatever it was. But I remember watching them police how the kind of colors we could wear and the amount of times that's why you see lots and lots. If you go on Pinterest, if you go on Twitter, you know, you just see black girls wearing red lipstick because we were told that this isn't our thing. Red lipstick's not made for us.
No. We know only that, Abby. We were told that to wear red lipstick brings more attention, right? And do you want that kind of attention by wearing bright, bold colours? Do you want that sort of attention by wearing bright lipstick? Because the inference is
I'm so stressed.
Really I know. But let me just say, because you know what the inference is, because the inference is that we have to tone it down. We need to fade in every literal meaning of the word fade, right? To fit in and to be accepted. And I think, Leanne, going back to your point about, you know, this whole lines of blackness thing, the thing that I guess like upsets me the most within all of this stuff, you know, now we're now talking about race, we're talking about racism, we're also, I hope, also talking about and understanding social conditioning. Right?
Yes.
And what happens when you are brought up in an environment where everybody does not look the same shade as you, meaning there is one shade and that's white.
Exactly.
So if I just put colorism to one side for a minute, because I'll go back to your point, Leanne, because it's relevant. But when you're now looking and you're understanding, and this is what I always say to people, and they go, oh, but it's not, you know, white supremacy. It's not white supremacy. My friends, when you turn on the television, right, and you watch all these different shows that you watch, and there's only one black person or one lighter skinned black person, right? You turn off the television. Then you open the magazine and the same thing, right? Then you close the magazine. Then you step out to your house, unless you're not in London. You go to the supermarket, right? Same thing. Then when you finish with shopping the supermarket, you go to the petrol station. Then when you go to your work, your place of work, and you step into the building and there is nobody who looks like you, or there's one or two people that you can, you know, sometimes if you acknowledge each other or not. And that is your experience day in, day out, right? So this is why I don't wrong anybody or blame anybody for the fact that we have all lived in, you know, we've all been conditioned to think this, and we don't even think that we were conditioned. You know, that's why I was so upset last weekend when I was doing some reading and watching of some stuff, because like, I'm Shireen, like, I don't take no shit, right? I don't. And then it was that realization that I was a victim of the social conditioning, that I thought I would never be that person. Like, I'm stronger than that. I should know better. And then I realized I didn't know better. My thing is now, though, in terms of where we go forward, is if you know better, you've got to do better, right? So that as Black people, that we have to start doing things differently in terms of how we relate to one another. The foolishness that we talk about in terms of whether you have the right to get to this line or to that line because of your, or whether you have the right to say X, Y, and Z because of your shade of black, when we are all Black. Right. And remember, the different shades of black goes back to slavery's point, because that's the way that you would pit slaves against one another. And the white man favored the lighter skinned slave. Don't underestimate the damage that does from generation to generation to generation. And we end up denying people their ability to feel confident and self-esteem because of who they are. Because like Leanne's saying, you've got to pull back because you don't want to be seen as being too stush. You don't want to be seen as being too nice. Do you know what I mean? And that's it, that like we have got to change that. You know, we have got like it's ridiculous and it's heartbreaking to hear this level of division within the Black community, all because of the concentration of melanin in our skin. That is literally what we're talking about. the ridiculousness of this whole conversation. You know what I mean when I say that, but
yeah,
absolutely,
and I think it's also the fact. I mean, we are specifically talking about colorism right now, but then you come down to the featureism, you know, whether it's straight nose, big lips, small lips, do you have more almond eyes? All these things that set the benchmark for our beauty still being that European white standard, which we don't need to achieve because we are beautiful as we are. I mean, there's this documentary about bleaching and skin color on Netflix, and there's a really esteemed, I've forgotten his name, but the photographer, and what he said was, you know, the way they used to do all the lighting historically was it was done on a white scale. So you'd have something called, I don't know, I can't remember what it's called. Rebecca, I think it is. Sorry, Rebecca, in the audience. It's just the name of the scale. But it was called Rebecca, and it was like a scale. And what it meant was is that when you take photos, if you're darker, it would then almost obscure your face. And if you're lighter, it made you look even lighter. So he was saying that back in the day, when we had no communication like this, you'd send a letter with a picture, and the darker you were, the more obscured you were. So even then, because of the way technology worked against us, it also meant we would say, okay, well, she's dark. No, she doesn't even look good. Oh, she's light. She looks even better. And then he said, add another layer onto that. He said, you know, we are putting ourselves against the European benchmark. No matter what we do, we put us there. He said, take that benchmark away, frame ourselves differently, construct our beauty according to our beauty, not according to their beauty. Because he even said, you know, once upon a time, big bottoms, small waist weren't the fashion. Let's look now at what's going on.
But who became the fashion?
The Kardashians are a big
right. No, but that's my point. At the point where it wasn't fashion, we were still comparing ourselves to the benchmark of European beauty, thus basically denigrating our natural physique. That's what we were doing. We were saying, you know what, our physique's not good enough. But white women, i.e. the Kardashians, took that over, and then they said, okay, well, this is beautiful now, when we've done and been beautiful. And I think that's the point. It's trying to remove that benchmark. Go, Abby, go.
I'm getting flashbacks to my past, and I'm just having heart palpitations. I'm still talking, Leanne. You're just fueling me with power. I'm fueling me with good stuff, and I'm just taking me back because just even thinking about, I used to be so self-conscious about how big my lips were. I used to be so self-conscious. I remember saying, I never thought I'd ever see the day that where people be injecting their lips to look like mine. I used to be Shireen, I kid you not, I used to cover my mouth a lot. And I used to cover my mouth a lot. And my mum used to be like, what's good? I was like, oh yeah, because my lips are really big. You know, and I used to cover my mouth a lot. And all these things that I was really ashamed of, now people are now spending thousands of pounds to have. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. You guys have made me, in my head, think that this isn't acceptable because this isn't this isn't the standards of beauty that's acceptable. Or we'd be, or do you know what I mean? Or we'd be wearing baggy clothes so that we could cover our bums or our boobs or do you know what I mean? Or our thighs, whatever it is that now I'm looking at. Actually, my sister called it builder bodies. That she goes, now I'm looking at all these builder bodies.
What was that?
Builder body, you know that Build-A-Bear, you know the company Build-A-Bear, where you like.
Oh, so like that. Sorry, I thought you meant like builder, cup of tea builder.
No, so all these girls with these ladies with the builder bodies, where they've basically built their bodies. And my dad would be laughing. My dad's like, but they're all gonna, when they die, they're all gonna be buried in coffins that are shaped like guitar boxes.
and in thousands of years to come, they will find remains of silicone.
Right.
It's amazing that those times where, again, I used to be all the features that make us black, the features that made me black, the features that made me stand out, having high cheekbones, having all these things where I'm just like, oh, now people are getting their cheekbones, cheek fillers, and getting.
No, but again, it goes back to when you live in a white supremacist society, it becomes acceptable when white people make it acceptable.
Exactly.
That is my, listen, that is my thing. This is not about, so because some people listening were thinking, oh, it's become a reckoning because, as Black people, we've suddenly looked and we've realized it's beautiful. So we want to celebrate the Black woman's physique, or we want to celebrate the Black guy's physique. And that, no. That is not what is at play here. And I think whilst, you're absolutely right. And, a lot of people have said this, it is about us, loving who we are, all of those things. However, if society does not change the way it holds up white beauty, white perspectives, white world, white. If society does not change, the burden is still on us as Black people to keep on fighting. We have to keep fighting to find ourselves beautiful. We have to keep fighting to think that we are worthy, that we have a voice, that we have a space. And I guess what we should all now be saying, like everybody, but particularly Black people, is we ain't putting up with this shit no more, because why should we have to work harder? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Completely, Shireen. I don't know about this year, 2019, but I think 2019. 2018.
You know what I'm feeling it. I'm just like,
no, because I think 2018, after Asia, as in the continent, Nigeria, the country, Nigeria had the highest rate of skin bleaching, or the most lucrative industry, or whatever, of skin bleaching in the world. After a whole continent, one country. And so, we're talking about centuries of thinking, centuries of self-hate passed down through generations. Becomes a generational problem, becomes a vicious circle, or going round. And again, I think I was one of the lucky ones, again, because I know a lot of Nigerian people grew up with them, that they've got different color, rainbow skin, their knuckles are different to their ankles, and their elbows are different to their necks. And I'm like,
does anyone remember Vibes Cartel?
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh! Can we just talk about Vibes?
I wish we could do a screenshot. I wish we could do a screenshot.
Oh my God, let me see if I can get it up, because I might have Googled it earlier on.
Did you look it up?
I did actually.
Do you remember that Cuban guy, Sammy Sosa?
Yes.
Is it Sammy Sosa?
Oh,
yes, Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Right, everybody, you can take a little minute, go and have a little Google. I'm going to play some music while you all Google, because I know everyone's Google Vibes Cartel, Vibes with a Z, and I'm going to get my grip on.
That is, that's self-hate.
There's Sammy Sosa.
Oh. Right, go to Sharon. I'm going to just get my grip on.
Have a look.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I know.
I
don't think you can see this on my one. Oh, you can't see it, man. My reflection. Oh, yeah.
I think I could have been a rapper in another life,
I love a bit of case and a little bit
down. I'm feeling that a little bit too much.
So you know that tune is too much for me. Sorry, I had to I just played it a little piece longer. I'll be right back.
I'm hot.
I know.
I don't know, to be honest, Shireen. I'm not. I mean, as much as funny because I'm really positive and I'm really optimistic about being on the right side of history when it comes to changing how people think about racism and prejudice and discrimination. Funnily enough, I'm not that optimistic when it comes to colorism because I feel like I'm not, to be honest with you, because just because I've seen the damage, it's very different to racism. I've seen the damage done from black to black people, and again, it's that I feel like it is different, just to look at myself and my light-skinned black friends, and obviously I think times change now, so people are checking themselves and checking their discriminatory ways towards people who are darker. I think that's the best way to put it. But it takes years of, and that's what I mean, that Godzilla comment, that was when we were 14. It stays with me. I still remember it right now, because of it was just such a wake up thing that a man could look at me differently to a light skinned person and would not see black. Like, oh, these are just two beautiful black women. But no, he would find me less desirable. And this was perpetuated by videos, perpetuated by, I mean, God damn, look at Michael Jackson.
Yeah, because he had a choice.
Yeah,
he had a choice. He could have made himself darker.
Oh my God! Someone went there with Rachel Dolezal.
Don't mention her.
No, we're not doing it. We're not doing Rachel. I can't do it.
She's not even.
Colorism. Sorry, Angela. I can't.
Angela, not today. I'm on the edge. As it is.
We're gonna start cussing so badly that I'll probably lose my LinkedIn license. So I just.
Not today. Not with that Rachel woman.
Leanne got so caught up when you mentioned her name, Angela, that she's just disconnected herself, but she'll come back.
No, Rachel Dolezal or whatever. Do you remember the other guy, this Irishman who got funding for the arts from the Arts Council to start up his own thing because he changed his name and said he was mixed race or he was black?
Yeah.
And it was a white man. It was, and he identifies as black.
Yes, no, but partly though, he said, did he not say though that because there was a movement, again, diversity and inclusion, so he thought he would have a better chance of getting whatever he was trying to get into if he said he was black. So it wasn't even because he identified with black, Abby. He thought he was gonna get
it. Leanne.
And you're on mute. She got so high.
You had Rachel Dolezal or whatever her name is, and you did.
You know what I mean? But Abby, do you know what? What I just want to say, you're still on mute, Leanne. You're still on mute. You're still on mute. But what I also wanted to say is, when you said about like being hopeful, right? Yeah. When I talked about, I don't know what video it was, what day it was, a couple of, last week or whenever, and I talked about Black people needing to do some work with this movement, right? There were some Black people, more than one, who said to me, Shireen, like I love what you're doing, I get what you're doing, but I don't agree that I don't agree that as Black people we have to do work because we've been doing the work, right? And I said, no, you're not paying attention to what I said. There is a role for white people and non-Black people in this, but particularly for white people to start who are in positions of authority and influence to dismantle. Right? There is work for Black people to do because we have been victims of this supremacist world that we live in. That there is work. And Abby, what you're talking about is the type of work that needs to be done, because as well as us looking into the mirror and liking what we see in all of our shades, in all of our shapes, colors and beauty, we also have to be able to understand and look at how we've related to other Black people, right? We have to, and I know some people are going to be like, oh my God, I don't agree with this. Well, this is what I think. And I feel like we have to think about all the things that we may have done or may have said, or how we've interacted with people that approach us even now, because we have to tune out that white is better. We have to tune out that white equals more opportunity. So we will bypass the black person to get to the white person who we think is in the position to be able to give us the opportunities that we so want. That is the conditioning that we have to change in our own mind. And I think only when we do that work, Abby, in relation to this is colorism, that we will make progress. And the other thing is what we are talking about. So when you hear people say like, black people are racist against black people, colorism is the issue that we're talking about. Black on black racism does not exist. Colorism exists, right? And when you start to think about racism as a system, don't think about it as acts and behavior. We can be as racist as we want to each other, but we are not the dominant.
We're not the powerful. We're not the powerful society.
Exactly. Colorism is the issue here.
Yes.
Racism as a structure, as a system, right? All the legislative, all the policies, all the barriers, all the practices, all the perspectives, all the opinions. That is the thing that we have to dismantle.
It's really funny you should say that as well, because I don't know if it's been aired or if it's coming, but the only black member of Little Mix, she's incredibly fair. So she's Leanne, so she's doing a BBC documentary on colorism, and everyone on Twitter were like, it's not colorism that she's gone through, it's racism. Racism is different to colorism. Colorism is not something she suffers from. Do you know what I mean? She's suffering from racism at the hands of their fans or whatever. But the BBC put it forward as colorism, which is what we're talking about right now, which is very different. And it's very, very important for you to understand the terminology and how to use it. Because I don't think a lot of people do, including people of color, actually.
No, and I think the other point about colorism, people don't understand that it's a cancer within the black community. It's so
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's so pervasive. You might not always be able to see it, but the effects are absolutely deadly. It's that part that motivates people to have a token dark friend or a token light friend. It doesn't matter which direction it goes to either add validation or bolster their ego. It's that we use each other as mechanisms in the same way that we're used by other people. And that's what makes me really, really sad, is that instead of coming together and being like, you know what, we're free black women, we have love, we have respect for each other, everything's all good, there is, in a lot of cases, underneath all that, there's the colorism veneer that's also being played out, and the dynamics, whether it's one person making, as you said, flyaway, not even always flyaway comments, but making hurtful comments to somebody else because they are darker and or lighter. And we have to, and you're right, Abby, because I think also I'm less hopeful. And I think it's only really going to potentially start with our generation in terms of colorism's always been there. Whether it's, oh, you're nice and pretty and you're light. You have nice hair. What color?
Look on your nose. Look on your nose, oh, it's straight.
Or that thing of, my grandfather's grandmother's mother's mother is white. Why is that?
That's a badge of honor. A badge of
honor. Badge of honor.
Why are you reaching back into the past? Whether you're Nigerian, whether you're Jamaican, whatever. Why do we always reach back into the past to look for our white or our non-black ancestor instead of saying, well, this is where I can actually pinpoint the point where that's my slavery connection. Right there is where I come from. And I think because the generations before us have, not my mom's, not like our parents' generation, because they were very much I'm black and I'm proud generation. They were here in such a racist Britain that being black and being proud was everybody being together. Some lighter ones probably wanted to be darker, but in the great majority, it was all about being black. But I think we are possibly the only generation, the first generation, that will say to our children, do you know something? You're black, you're mixed race, whatever, but this is who you are, and you're not better than somebody because they're lighter or darker. This is just you. So this is, and I think because we're so much more
normalize it, you have to start learning to normalize it with your children and with your children's friends or whatever, where you have an influence. Do you know what I mean? Where you have an influence.
We have to stop allowing, and this is, as a mother to mixed race children, this is where I also have to put the box somewhere, which is stopping people who are also white fetishizing my kids, because then all of a sudden color becomes an issue, and they're like, oh, I'm dark, I could pass for white.
Let me just go jump on fetishism really quickly. You know the amount
Abby,
of
I
time.
want to go to comments, Abby.
Really quickly, the amount of times I've heard dark-skinned women say they're going to go out with a white man or going to go out with a light-skinned man because they want their children to have nice hair. Do you know how many times I've heard that comment?
Yes.
See, I knew you'd like that, Sharice.
Yeah.
Listen. No. Sorry, I got
how many times that black women have said, don't said to me, I'm going to get with a white man, I'm going to get with a man who's light skinned because I don't want my children to have 4C hair and nappy hair. I want to be able to comb my children's hair. What are you talking to me about?
Abby, stop it. Abby. Stop it, Abby, because you think at killing me. Oh.
Why are you doing this? But it's true. It's true.
Right. I'm going to go. Look, I've got to big up myself now. Right, we're going to go to
the one about the paper brown bag test, because someone asked what that was. Sorry to hijack you for 2 seconds.
Where is that? Where's that?
Oh, it's just disappeared now.
Oh, what is the brown paper bag? Okay.
Do you want me to go?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you go. Sorry, Leanne. I'm filled in the comments, so you go now. I'm just going to, my eyes going to count off.
So the brown paper bag test was a test that was used to determine like if you were light enough. So they used to do this in America in front of churches. So if you went to a black church, for example, they'd hold the paper bag next to you. And if you were darker, you weren't allowed in because that's the level of segregation and colorism we implemented to ourselves. So if you were lighter, you were better. If you were darker, then no.
Right, I just want to put this up really quickly because I just want to say hi, Chris. So only because I am going to do a LinkedIn Live with Chris. So you know what, I can just pick who I want in a couple of weeks' time. Chris is in the great US of A. Hello, Chris. But yes, this goes back to this point, and I just want to mention this, like what Abby was saying is that, again, if we are not having these conversations, this level of conversation, you know, and I'm not expecting, like, you know, some people are going to come into the office Monday morning like, right, they're going to start playing soul to soul. They're going to start going, right, we need to talk about this thing. But this is the importance of, I guess, dissecting some of this stuff and also putting it all out on the table. Because, again, if we are hiding parts of the challenges because it might not make us as black people look good, right? Or because you know how many people say to me, don't you feel sometimes like you're being a bit traitorous? Guess what? No, I don't. Hello. No, I do not. Because this is not about me, right? What we are trying to do, the reason why Abby, Mealy, and we turn up, the reason why other people are doing what they're doing to try and affect change is because we want the change, even if we are not here to see and experience it. But it's so important because if people don't understand, you know, I will forgive anybody who's not aware. It's when they are aware that they do nothing that I've got things to say. But we do not talk about colorism enough. There are aspects of racism that we don't talk about enough. There is the impact of racism that we don't talk about enough. So if people don't know so when somebody's trying to sell them a solution to go and solve their black issue within their business and they don't know this, if you don't know this, you're just going to buy the solution thinking that you fixed the problem. Exactly. And guess what? 5 years' time, when there's another protest, we're all still flaming marching because the problem
Exactly.
And just again,
let me fan myself.
And just
fan yourself, lady. You fan it.
You know what As I mean? You said, Abby, there's also difference in experiences. So to your point, Shireen, if you have a very, very light black person in your leadership team, yes, you've ticked off the box for a black person in your team, but the journey is very different. Yeah. It's not the same. So if you're black/white passing, the journey is not the same as my journey. The journey is not the same as your journey. Exactly. So when corporates are looking to fix it, don't just pick the lightest one in the box just to tick off the box, because we're still going to come for you.
And on my last thing I'm going to say is, black people, let's not be stupid, because white people will look at us and be like, they can't even get it right amongst themselves.
Right.
Hold on, Abby. Hold on, Abby. I want you to say that one more time. I want you to say it louder.
Wait. Black people, let's not be stupid, because white people will look at us and say they can't even get it right amongst themselves. They can't even get on amongst themselves. So why the hell should we respect them? Don't ever forget that. So before you come up with your colorism nonsense and someone's light skin, dark skin, fair skin, medium skin, someone told me mid-tone brown the other day. Mid-tone brown. I'm like, I ain't got time for you, please.
Is that a cup of tea or coffee or what?
Mid-tone brown. I'm like, what is this? Cappuccino? What is this? An espresso? Make it make sense. Because remember, If we don't have that camaraderie amongst ourselves, how in God's name are we supposed to fight off racism and everything else when we can't even get on?
And, the other extension, let me just add in one more piece on that, is in all of this, there are going to be people who approach this in very different ways, right? They're going to say, do, they're going to use, and whatever else it is. In this, the other thing, Abby said, Black people don't be stupid, right? I want to say also, Black people, stop pulling up the drawbridge, right?
Oh.
Stop pulling up the drawbridge. And what I mean, because some people go, what do you mean by that, Shreen? Well, what I mean by that is, shall I explain?
Yeah, I'm coming afterwards.
Yeah, because what that means is, if you've got yourself into a position of influence, power, authority, you can whisper in the right white person's ear, the right non-Black person's ear, and your situation, your life is good, right? And you're not also thinking about who is coming after you or who also needs you to help them get in the room, right? Because let me tell you, and the reason why I know this is an issue, because listen, let me be crystal clear, because I have to come correct myself. I've had to come correct myself. I'm correct now, but I've had to come correct myself, because in the same way, right, when we see a Black person start a business, so we're all in the same company, right? And we don't engage with them like, hey, another Black person, what we do, we wait to see if they're any good, because if they're good, we'll start talking to them, give them the nod in the canteen, give it all of that business going on. If they're not good, we will disassociate ourselves because we are thinking about our position within the business. So here in all of this, there is no such thing as a platform too small. There is no such thing as a platform too big. But if you are serious about being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, do you know what is it I can do to amplify somebody else's voice? What can I do to show solidarity that's not about me, that's not about my coins, that's not about me securing the bag, right? This is about making sure that there are people who have lived experience, who have voices, who have expertise, not because they're coming to sell. This is not about selling, right? Because I don't people knocking on my door for that bullshit. No, I ain't interested. This is about thinking to themselves, we need more people to hear. My voice can't do it alone. Abby's voice can't do it alone. Leanne's voice can't do it alone. Chris's voice, Margie's voice, Dr. Nawaye's voice, all these people that I'm connected with who are doing stuff. James's voice can't do it on his own. Chopay's voice can't do it on. All these people that I know who are trying to do what they can do in their own way. We need somebody else to help give us the leg up, just like I need to help other people give them the leg up to go and do.
We need to leave the bootstrap mentality behind. When you have your ladder, help other people get to your place as well. Help other people reach good places too, higher places too. And we need to stop that.
Also stop trying to pacify your white employees by saying things that are racist don't matter. Because so all I'm going to say is stop playing house
Say that one more time, because I was too busy being extra fanning you.
I was too busy doing Michael Jackson. Do again.
Sorry.
Listen, stop playing house Negro. Stop pretending that when somebody says, stop playing house Negro, did you catch my pearly whites? Stop it, because it's not good enough. If you really want to help, when someone is out of order, don't say, oh, it's fine by me. I don't know what's wrong with her. Maybe she's on her period. I don't know what's wrong with him. She's your part.
She's an angry Black woman. This man is aggressive and he just needs to tone it down. I don't know what's making him say that, because I've never experienced racism. I've never felt that you, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, have treated me any differently. So I don't know why they're saying, because that's in my experience. And they don't talk for all Black people. All of that bullshit.
Right.
Do your part. As Leanne says, do your part. Do it. Because when you close the door, after you've been finished playing house Negro, what do you think they're saying about you behind your back?
Word.
But Abby, let me just remind you, when they ain't got no time for your backside and they throw you out of the company, it's your black friends you go looking
Black people that's gonna lift you up. It's your black people that's going to lift you up.
That's what you're looking for. You go for your friends to help you out all of a sudden, those same friends that you never had time for before, or you're looking to connect with all the colleagues in the other company when you know that it's coming. No.
Right, this comment made me laugh. So this is the last comment. So I'm going to play us out with one tune, like one of my favorite tunes. I'm going to play us out with a tune. Right. Just read this comment. It made me laugh. And unfortunately, I can't even. I'm so sorry. I can't see who it is because this thing is a bit funny. So sometimes I know who it is, sometimes I don't. Yeah. I'm sure we're connected. So if you can just drop in and just say your name, whoever put this.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Love it.
Because I don't know who it is, and I want to say they're probably going. But we thought we understood it was like because people are using the N word in our business, and we're like, no, my friends.
The topic of race and all, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, or death by 1,000 cuts, whatever. There's so much. I mean, there's so much to talk about when we're talking about race and the divisions. Margie, yay! Amazing, brilliant comment. We have got so much to talk about, and it's a conversation that can go on forever because it's such a mammoth topic. So again, I'll say it. As Leanne said, I'll reiterate it. Do your part.
Do your part. Do your part. So listen, I'm going to play us out with the tune. So still do the comments because we'll try and mime the responses to some of the comments. But even just to let us know if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was helpful. So for the next, I asked Abby and Leanne if they wouldn't mind. We're going to do this weekly, so we will. Yeah.
You guys do it every Friday.
Every Friday until we get booted off. So we're going to be here every Friday. So that means this will be one of my day videos. For those of you that don't know, I record videos every single day. The other thing just to say is I'm not leaving it to just that Friday. So what I will do is there are other conversations that I will be having. I've got a conversation coming up with Umar and James. It's going to be cool. I've got Chris Dobbins who's here. Hi, Chris. We're going to have a conversation and I will do those in the week at 7 o'clock in the evening. So we've got some different times going on. Probably not going to be music on the weekday because I feel like Friday is the day where I really need it. So Friday is the hype day. I know everyone's like, oh, but we could do with music on the week. I know, but I can't. If you see my setup, you will understand. I'm like a DJ right about now with everything going on.
Also, Friday's music means you all have to tune in on Fridays to hear the tune. I want
to see people dropping a move. I want to see some people having fun. So yeah,
you're black by popular demand.
I like that. Yes, James.
Yeah, we are back.
Leanne, we're back here. Connect with us. Let's do this. Every Friday we'll be here with Shireen.
We will.
Up to no good, but we're always up to good. It's all the good stuff that we're teaching people.
She's already skanking.
Oh no, that's the word. So solid crew. Never been seen, never heard. Never occurred. I believe in a lyrical word. Oh no, that's the word. Oh no, that's the word. Never occurred. I believe in a lyrical word. Oh no, that's the word. Oh no, that's the word. Romeo's in the premises.
I'm not doing anymore because I'm too slow.
If you want to test this, I'm going to show you my AWS. What? You're not serious.
Oh, cool. Back.
She is. Do you know that's a tune? Please, everybody, tell me that's so solid. That is a tune? Oh no, that's a word. Oh God.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you. And somebody did ask. I can't remember who it is. Yes. My videos, so all my videos, everything that I do will always go on my HREY TV YouTube channel, so you can subscribe. I share everything on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn algorithms don't always want me to be great. So it doesn't always show my stuff to everybody. So always go there, and then, you know, we'll just keep talking, and I will bring as many people as I can and talk to people here. There's some amazing people in the US that I want to, you know, and I guess the thing that unites us all, irrespective of the shade of our skin, is the fact that we care deeply about the world being better. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you that enough. So whilst, you know, you see us unapologetically Black, we're very challenging around what we think, you know, Black people in the community should do. I am very challenging on everybody. You know, my cussing knows no bounds. Equal opportunities cussing when it's necessary. But it's because we want everybody to be better and to do better. So I hope you feel that, no matter how uncomfortable, you know, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, oh my God, what are they saying? Like, I don't get it. But, you know, what is this? But
what in the ghetto is going on?
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? But it's relevant, it's needed. So thank you so much for supporting, for listening, for engaging. Follow us, engage with us, connect with everybody who commented here, because everybody is trying to do their bit, you know. So this is what it is. So go and, you know, follow, talk, make connections, go and collaborate, find different ways to help each other.
I think someone just asked
the drawbridge.
Sorry, Shireen. I think for myself, if you want to connect with me, someone just said, Abby and Leanne, what's your LinkedIn page? Mine's just Abby Adamson. I'm the only Abby Adamson.
And I'm Leanne. I'm Leanne Maya, but that's the surname is Mair.
Yeah.
There we are.
And I'm Shireen Daniels.
They all know who you are, lady.
You are Miss Payne.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to end the broadcast. Me, Abby, and Leanne are going to carry on fanning ourselves. Probably play one more tune off air, and then yeah, we'll go do it. So have a fabulous weekend.
Have a lovely weekend.
So bye. Happy Friday.
Bye.
Bye.